So my presentation and paper were about the need for interagency communication and collaboration. There was two schools of thoughts in some of the literature that I found. The first dealt with the experts in the field idea. And so what that idea was basically saying was that although communication and collaboration could be useful in certain areas, when it comes to intelligence, specific agencies are tasked with specific duties and they're the experts in the field. And so oftentimes if you try to increase communication or collaboration, that could take some of that intelligence from the experts related to that particular agency and move it over into other agencies and maybe not get the same desired effect. The other school of thought was regardless, increased communication, especially with different agencies who might be working on the same transnational threat, same set of intelligence, or maybe needing to share that intelligence to better analyze that threat and craft a response. By increasing communication and collaboration, that would make the process more effective and efficient. So the next section of my paper talked about the intelligence cycle and counterintelligence, and really just outlined some of the basic concepts within the intelligence cycle, specifically the collection process, the analysis process, and the dissemination of that information, talking about how information is gathered through the different agencies. Some of it's, we talked about in the past, geospatial, uh, human intelligence, signal intelligence, the different types of intelligence, and gathering that, analyzing it based on any themes or specifics that are emerging within that intelligence or within that information, and then disseminating it to the proper people. In some cases, it's policymakers. In some cases, is those that are maybe on the ground responding to threats and things like that. Counterintelligence also involves processes. Those processes, again, um, various aspects of analysis of interrupting possible threats, things like that. And so, what this section really focused on was how communication is necessary and collaboration is important within both of these cycles, and how those things could enhance uh, both processes by sharing of information between agencies, uh, between foreign and domestic partners, and things like that, working together, again, domestically and with foreign partners to assess risks, assess threats, craft responses, and things like that related to the intelligence that is gathered. So there were a couple of barriers that I talked about in my paper. One was the metadata barrier, basically meaning that there is so much data coming in at all times that some agencies can be overwhelmed with all the numbers of things that they're having to analyze and then disseminate out to others. And so by being able to share with some of this, it could alleviate some of that burden. Organizational structure refers to, one, the hierarchical nature. So a lot of times communication is vertical and horizontal. And sometimes that creates a barrier because a lot is lost between the different steps of going from the top down and then obviously left to right, so to speak, of trying to communicate everything that's coming in regards to intelligence. Compartmentalization goes back to that expert theory. Certain agencies, certain departments supposed to be the experts. So sometimes certain intelligence is kept just within those departments, and it's sometimes can create barriers to the intelligence process, to the response to threat process as well. And then competition. Barrier is sometimes there's private organizations that are also collecting intelligence and providing that to the government outside of just the government agencies. And so that can often create barriers as well. Then there's the ownership, dependency, espionage, and circular reporting barriers, talked about in a separate section. Ownership, again, talks about whose intelligence is it and the willingness to not necessarily collaborate because certain agencies or certain departments may feel like they own that intelligence. Dependency, which is where if there is increased communication and collaboration, it could be that some sides, and this was related more to foreign intelligence, some states or some governments are not holding up their end, so to speak, and they're dependent on the other. And so because of that, um, there can be quid pro quo arrangements where you're going to give us this, but only in return for this. And so that creates barriers as to how intelligence could be shared. Espionage refers to the idea that if we do increase collaboration amongst agencies, or especially with foreign partners, increased collaboration could often lead to increased risk of espionage and sharing of data with people that aren't supposed to have that intelligence. And then the last one is circular reporting. It kind of ties into the quid pro quo thing. So let's say you have three partners. I'm a partner with partner two, but I don't know partner two and partner three are partners. So I'm sharing my intelligence, not realizing that partner two, who is my partner, is also sharing it with partner three. Then in return, partner three doesn't know that I was the actual source. So partner two is telling partner three, I need this in return, even though they weren't even the source. And so that creates that idea of circular reporting. And what these things are basically saying is that this isn't necessarily a barrier to communicating and collaborating. These are barriers that can be caused by increased communication and collaboration, and therefore creates a barrier. If I know that these things could happen if I communicate and collaborate more, then I can also, it can make me not want to communicate and collaborate. So how can we improve communication and collaboration? Alliances, making foreign and domestic alliances that can help with the sharing and collecting and disseminating of intelligence. Restructuring organizations so that maybe there's more, and this kind of ties into the last one with adaptive interpretations, where there's more networks working together. And so with these networks collect their own information, they build trusting relationships with foreign and domestic partners, and then they can share that within their network or even outside of their network, through these partnerships once that trust is established. In conclusion, in order for my purposes of this paper to have better interagency cooperation, we need to reduce the barriers of between communicating and collaborating, whether that's agencies within the same department, all agencies within the government that may be in different departments and different agencies, and then also with our domestic and foreign partners as well. And then we also need to increase communication and collaboration, which will assist in collecting intelligence, sharing and analyzing that intelligence, and then disseminating it to the proper sources. Thank you.